Have you ever wondered why a woman can be drawn to the very chaos that drives you insane? Why, when things are calm, stable, and safe, she seems distant, but when there's tension, unpredictability, or conflict, suddenly her eyes light up, her heart races, and she says she feels alive. Most men confuse this for love. They think drama means passion, but in truth, it's a psychological trap, one that leaves you drained while she feels electrified. Imagine this: you're dating a woman who seems sweet, easygoing, and affectionate. At first, everything feels perfect, but over time, you notice something unsettling. The nights when you simply spend time together, laughing, holding hands, keeping things easy, she looks bored. Her eyes glaze over. She scrolls her phone, distracted. Yet the moment you get into an argument, the moment you withdraw or raise your voice, suddenly she's locked in, giving you her full attention. She's crying, clinging, saying things like, "I don't want to lose you," and as twisted as it feels, that's when you finally feel she truly cares. Do you see it? Calm equals distance. Conflict equals intimacy. This is the drug of drama. Here's what most men never realize: women are highly attuned to emotional spikes. Where men often crave peace and clarity, women are more likely to associate unpredictable highs and lows with romance itself. This is why some women chase toxic relationships, not because they consciously want to be hurt, but because the roller coaster of emotional tension mimics the chemical storm of attraction, the adrenaline of a fight, the dopamine of reconciliation, the oxytocin of make-up affection. It wires her nervous system to believe chaos is connection. That's why she can confuse drama with love. Now here's where you, as a man, get trapped. You mistake her emotional intensity for proof of devotion. She's screaming, crying, pacing the room, and you think, at least she cares this much. But what you're actually seeing is addiction. She's addicted to the spike. And if you're not careful, you'll become addicted to her addiction. You'll start picking fights, withholding attention, or escalating arguments just to keep her engaged. Because deep down, you sense that peace feels like rejection. That's how men get broken, by believing drama is the only way to keep a woman invested. Let me give you a real example. A man I knew, Mark, dated a woman who was fiery, unpredictable, and always in some emotional storm. When things were calm, she would flirt with other men, ignore his messages, or say she felt distant. But the moment he pulled back, the moment he said he was done, she would show up at his door sobbing, confessing her love, begging for another chance. Mark mistook this for passion. He believed her breakdowns were signs of deep attachment. But after 2 years of this cycle, he was exhausted, anxious, and hollow. He couldn't see that what he called love was just a pattern of instability, a relationship surviving only on emotional chaos. Here's the tactical clarity you need when a woman is addicted to drama. You'll notice 3 behaviors. First, she creates or escalates conflict out of thin air, picking fights over trivial things. Second, she withdraws attention in moments of peace, forcing you to chase her just to restore equilibrium. Third, she showers you with intense affection only after emotional turbulence, teaching you that love equals suffering followed by reward. If you recognize these patterns, you're not in a stable bond, you're in a trap. So how do you respond? The worst thing you can do is play into it, raising your voice, chasing when she pulls back, rewarding her breakdowns with more attention. That feeds the cycle. Instead, you need to cultivate indifference to her storms. When she provokes a fight, don't bite. Stay calm, even amused. When she withdraws, don't chase. Let her sit in her silence while you carry on with your life. When she floods you with affection after chaos, Don't melt into it immediately. Slow down, stay grounded. Make her realize that love with you doesn't require instability. You break the pattern by refusing to fuel it. And here's the truth: if she can't adapt to calm strength, she will leave. But that's not your loss. That's your freedom. This is where most men fail. They're so desperate to keep her attention that they accept chaos as proof of love. They confuse her tears with loyalty, her jealousy with desire, her fights with intimacy. But brother, real love is not chaos. Real love is consistency. And if you let yourself believe otherwise, you'll bleed yourself dry trying to entertain her addiction. So let me ask you, have you ever mistaken drama for passion? Have you ever stayed in a toxic cycle because the highs felt like proof she cared? And deep down, do you fear that without conflict, a woman will stop desiring you? Be honest in the comments. Your story might wake another man up. There's a moment every man remembers: the first time he felt like he was losing her, and in that panic, she suddenly came alive. She texted you back instantly. She called with urgency, her voice trembling, her words dripping with emotion. I can't lose you. And in that moment, your chest tightened because it felt like love. But it wasn't love. It was fear. Fear masquerading as passion. Fear of abandonment disguised as desire. And because you didn't see the difference, you got hooked on the lie that love equals drama. Think about how it plays out in real time. You send her a message, and she takes hours, maybe days, to reply. You feel the sting of being ignored. Then you finally pull away. Maybe you stop calling. Maybe you tell her you're done, and suddenly she's blowing up your phone. She's sending paragraphs. She's crying. She's begging. In that moment, you feel powerful, desired, chosen. But the truth is, she's not returning because of deep love. She's returning because you just triggered her deepest fear, losing the emotional chaos that keeps her nervous system wired. And just like that, you're back in the cycle: pain, withdrawal, explosion, reconciliation, a loop that drains you but keeps her addicted. Here's what you need to understand about why drama feels like love to her. Drama creates uncertainty. Uncertainty is emotional gasoline. It floods her with adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, the same chemicals her body releases in moments of real passion. When she doesn't know where she stands with you, when she feels like she could lose you, that very instability convinces her she must care deeply. Her heart races, her thoughts spin, and suddenly the relationship feels intense. But intensity is not intimacy. Don't confuse the two. Now, what happens to you in this? You start bending yourself into her emotional rhythm. When she's cold, you chase harder. When she's hot, you surrender and give everything. When she withdraws, you panic. When she explodes, you fight back. Without realizing it, you're not leading anymore, you're reacting. You've become an actor in her drama, a pawn in her emotional theater. And the longer you play that role, the weaker you become. You lose sleep, you lose focus, you lose your edge as a man. And the worst part, you start thinking this is normal, that this is what love is supposed to feel like. Let me tell you a story. A guy named Jason once told me about his girlfriend. Every few weeks, she'd start a fight over something trivial, maybe a photo he liked on Instagram, maybe a tone of voice she didn't like. The fight would escalate. She'd storm out, and Jason would spiral. Hours later, she'd call him, sobbing, confessing her love, apologizing, promising to change. And every time, Jason melted. He told me, those moments felt so real. It was like nothing else mattered. But here's the thing, Jason wasn't addicted to her love. He was addicted to her chaos. He was addicted to the cycle of rejection and redemption. That wasn't intimacy. That was conditioning, like a dog trained to crave the treat after punishment. So how do you stop this trap first? You have to see it clearly, notice the cycle, write it down if you have to, the trigger, the fight, the withdrawal, the flood of emotion, map it out. Once you see the loop, you can stop dancing to it. Second, you have to detach from her highs. When she comes back in tears, don't give her instant reassurance. Stay calm, stay collected. Let her words hit the air without rushing to fix it. That alone will break the spell. Third, you need to test for stability. Give her calm, give her silence. See if she can survive in peace without manufacturing chaos. If she can't, you've learned everything you need to know. Here's the tactical move: refuse to reward her drama. When she ignores you, don't chase. When she provokes you, don't bite. When she floods you with affection, don't drown in it. Hold your center. Because if she can't find you attractive in stability, she was never attracted to you. She was addicted to the instability you created together. And that's not love. That's dependency dressed as romance. The hardest pill for men to swallow is this: some women don't know how to love without drama. And if you try to build with them, you'll spend your life trapped in cycles, mistaking turbulence for intimacy. But the men who win, the men who keep their soul intact, are the ones who recognize that love doesn't have to burn you alive to be real. Peace doesn't mean boredom. Consistency doesn't mean weakness. It means strength. It means leadership. It means refusing to perform in her emotional theater. Let me ask you, have you ever realized you were playing a role in her chaos instead of leading your own life? Have you ever confused her emotional storms for proof of love? And when you look back now, do you see the cost it took on your focus, your confidence, your sense of self? Share your story below. It might be the very thing another man needs to hear tonight. There's a hidden truth you don't want to admit part of you like the chaos. As much as you hated the fights, the silence, the unpredictable swings, there was a thrill in it. Because when she finally came back, when she finally melted into your arms after days of tension, it felt like victory. You felt chosen, and that high was intoxicating. But here's the brutal reality: you weren't chosen because she loved you. You were chosen because she needed the emotional roller coaster to feel alive. You weren't winning. You were being used as fuel. This is why men confuse drama with passion. You think, if she didn't love me, she wouldn't cry this hard. If she didn't care, she wouldn't get so jealous. If she wasn't invested, she wouldn't fight this much. But that's a lie. Fighting doesn't equal commitment. Tears don't equal loyalty. Jealousy doesn't equal love. All of that can simply mean she's addicted to the chaos, and you're her current supplier. That's all. And the second you stop supplying, she'll find someone else who will. It's not about you. It's about the chemical storm inside her that she needs to recreate over and over again. This is where men destroy themselves by thinking they need to provide that storm to keep her. So you escalate. You pull away harder to make her chase. You yell louder to get a reaction. You play colder so she'll warm up. And at first, it works. But each time, the spike has to get bigger. The fight has to cut deeper. The silence has to last longer. Until one day, the chaos consumes you. You're not in love anymore. You're in a battlefield where neither of you trust the calm, because calm feels like emptiness. That's not love. That's trauma bonding. Here's what you must see clearly: women who equate drama with love are often repeating patterns from their past. Maybe they grew up in a household where love always came with shouting, inconsistency, or emotional withdrawal. Maybe they were abandoned, so fear of loss feels like intensity. Maybe every relationship before you was unstable, so peace feels foreign. To her nervous system, Drama feels familiar, and familiarity feels like safety, even if it's toxic. That's why she clings to chaos. Not because she consciously wants it, but because it feels like home. And if you don't catch this, you'll spend years being her home at the cost of your own sanity. The cost to you is brutal. You stop trusting peace. You start thinking calm women are boring. You sabotage healthy relationships because you crave the highs you once mistook for love. You turn into the very thing that hurt you, addicted to tension, unable to rest in stability. That's why so many men, even after leaving a toxic woman, find themselves chasing the next chaotic one. You're not looking for love. You're looking for the drug of drama, and it's killing you slowly. So how do you break free first? Stop rewarding chaos. If she pulls away, don't chase. If she creates tension, don't feed it. If she floods you with affection after a fight, don't treat it as proof of devotion. See it for what it is, the reset button of her addiction. Second, set the standard. Tell her plainly, love with me doesn't require chaos. If you need fighting to feel alive, this won't work. Watch her response. A woman who's capable of healthy love will respect it. A woman addicted to drama will resist it, sabotage it, or leave. Let her. Third, train yourself to crave peace. When a woman is calm, steady, and consistent, don't call it boring, call it rare, call it powerful, call it love. Teach your nervous system that stability is strength, not weakness. Let me give you a concrete tactic you can use right now. Next time she provokes you, instead of raising your voice or defending yourself, stay silent. Not weak silence, powerful silence. Look her in the eye, relaxed, unshaken. Watch how quickly her energy shifts when she realizes her storm doesn't move you. That moment alone tells you everything about the foundation of your relationship. If she calms down and adjusts, you're dealing with someone who can grow. If she escalates even more, you're dealing with someone who needs the chaos more than she needs you. And brother, that's when you know it's time to walk. Because here's the truth, a woman who only comes alive through drama will never let you rest. And a man who can't rest will never rise. Your life is not meant to be a constant battle for her attention. You're not her therapist. You're not her emotional drug dealer. You're a man. And until you reclaim that truth, you'll keep bleeding in relationships that confuse chaos for connection. So I'll ask you, have you ever mistaken her storm for proof of her love? Have you ever told yourself peace was boring just because you were conditioned to crave the high of chaos? And most importantly, do you see now how much it's cost you in energy, time, and self-respect? Write your story in the comments. Another man needs to hear it. Here's the part that stings the most. The drama doesn't just drain you, it rewires you. The more you live in her cycles, the more your nervous system adapts to chaos as the baseline. You stop trusting your own calm. You start mistaking women who bring you peace as dull. You start thinking that if there's no emotional spike, there's no real attraction. That's how men end up sabotaging healthy women, chasing broken ones, and repeating the same wounds again and again. It's not her destroying you anymore. It's you destroying yourself because chaos has become your compass. You need to realize how this happens. Every time she pulls away, your body feels withdrawal. Your chest gets tight, your stomach knots, you can't focus. Then, when she comes back, apologizing, crying, flooding you with affection, you feel relief. That relief is powerful, almost euphoric, but it's not love. It's the same chemical pattern as any addiction. Pain, withdrawal, reward. Do that long enough, and your brain starts associating suffering with love. That's why when a calm, consistent woman enters your life, you find yourself restless. You crave the spike. You crave the fight. You crave the very poison that burned you. That's when you know you've been rewired. The cost is bigger than you think. Men who live in this cycle lose more than relationships. They lose themselves. You stop taking risks in your career because your energy is drained by her drama. You lose friendships because your time is consumed by fixing her moods. You stop training, stop focusing, stop building. All of your power gets funneled into her storms, and when the relationship finally collapses, you're left hollow, asking yourself, what happened to me? What happened is simple. You traded your masculine edge for the illusion of love, and she never had to pay a price for it. You did. Here's the reality. You can't fix a woman who only feels alive through chaos. You can't love her enough to calm her storms. You can't sacrifice yourself enough to heal her past. All you can do is decide if you'll play her game or not. And if you keep playing, you'll pay with your life force. That's the price most men don't realize they're paying until it's too late. But the men who rise, the ones who escape the trap, are the ones who reclaim their frame and refuse to live in her theater. What does reclaiming your frame look like? It means you stop reacting. When she gives you silence, you don't panic. You carry on with your day. When she provokes you, you don't take the bait. You stay composed, unshaken. When she floods you with affection after a fight, you don't fall into her arms like a starving man. You slow down, you measure, you decide. You're not a puppet being pulled by her emotions. You're a man with a center, and that's the one thing a woman addicted to drama can't control. She can manipulate a man who needs her. She can't manipulate a man who doesn't fear losing her. Let me give you a clear example. A guy named Andre once told me his girlfriend constantly tested him with jealousy games, flirting with other men, ignoring his calls, making comments to provoke him. For months, he reacted with anger and desperation, which only fed her addiction. But one day, he stopped. When she pulled back, he didn't chase. When she tried to spark jealousy, he didn't bite. When she exploded, he stayed calm. Do you know what happened? At first, she escalated, desperate to shake him, but over time, she adjusted, because without his reaction, her drama had no fuel. And suddenly, Andre realized something: he was no longer trapped. He was leading, and she either had to adapt to his frame, or the relationship would end. Either way, he was free. That's the power you must reclaim. Drama only works when you participate. If you refuse to play, she has a choice: grow or leave. And if she leaves, good, because you can't afford to spend years tied to a woman who needs chaos more than she needs peace. Your life is too valuable to waste in emotional warfare. You have empires to build, battles to win, a legacy to carve. And none of that can happen if all your energy is being siphoned into her storm. So ask yourself honestly, have you been rewired by chaos without realizing it? Do you secretly crave the spike of drama because calm feels empty? And if so, are you ready to break that conditioning before it costs you the best years of your life? Tell me in the comments. Your honesty might be the wake-up call another man needs. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. She never loved you more in the chaos, she just felt more alive. And you confused her aliveness with love. But that energy she gave you in the storms, it was never about you. It was about her addiction to the spike, her craving for unpredictability, her need to feel intensity over stability. And every time you mistook that for devotion, you traded away a piece of yourself. Not because you were weak, but because no one ever told you the game she was playing. Think about how many nights you lost sleep waiting for her text. How many mornings you dragged yourself out of bed exhausted because you'd been up fighting with her until 3 a.m. How many hours you wasted dissecting her silence. trying to read between the lines of her words, wondering if she still cared. You thought this was proof of love, but all it proved was that you were enslaved to her emotional rhythm. You weren't in control, you weren't leading, you were orbiting her mood swings, living in reaction instead of direction, and that's why you felt empty, even when she was lying next to you. This is what every man has to face. Eventually, drama is not love. It is control. It's a system designed to keep you hooked, exhausted, and dependent. And unless you step out of it, you'll never know what peace, clarity, and true intimacy actually feel like. The woman who needs chaos to feel close will never allow you rest, and a man who cannot rest will never rise. Your power doesn't come from surviving storms, it comes from walking away from them, from refusing to let someone else dictate the weather in your life. So how do you claim that power? You stop negotiating with chaos. You stop rewarding drama with attention. You stop confusing her panic with passion. You recognize that love worth having will not demand you bleed for it. You start seeing that a woman who can sit with you in silence, who doesn't need conflict to feel connected, who builds with you instead of battling you, that woman is rare, and she's worth your energy. But the others, the ones who can't breathe without turbulence, you leave them where they are. Because if you don't, they'll strip you of your edge, your time, and your soul. And here's the hardest part: once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. You'll notice the games everywhere, the silence tests, the provoked arguments, the dramatic reconciliations, and instead of falling into them, you'll smile. Not a cruel smile, but the smile of a man who finally understands. Because now, you're not controlled, you're not shaken, you're free. That's what this is all about: freedom. Freedom to choose peace over poison. Freedom to walk away without apology. Freedom to give your energy only to women who can meet you in calm strength instead of chaotic need. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect. And now, you know better. Now, you know that real love doesn't come with destruction. It comes with clarity, with steadiness, with quiet power. And if she can't stand in that with you, then she was never yours to begin with.